Hi guys, I'm Libertman, forced to be alone but free to decide how. Today we're going to demolish one of the most romantic and most destructive ideas of modern culture. Love can fix everything. Beautiful in movies, touching in songs, inspiring in poetry, but in real life, it's a trap. If we don't understand what love can and cannot do, it can destroy us. So let's break it down. What does this myth claim? The myth assumes that with enough love, any obstacle can be overcome. That love is enough to sustain a relationship. That loving intensely is equals to a healthy bond. That if something fails, you just need more love. That deep differences dissolve magically. And that if the relationship ended, you didn't love enough. It sounds novel, but it's false. So where does this idea come from? There are three main roots to look at. The first is religion. Love as a divine force that redeems everything. Then the second root is the European Romanticism. Love as a destiny. And the third root is the Hollywood Disney world, in which magic love overcomes all structural barriers. But these are fiction-based narratives. They work in stories, where one emotional speech solves everything, and no one pays the actual cost. Real life is not like that. So why is it false? Because you can love someone and still be incompatible. You can love someone but not share values. You can love but lack psychological tools to relate with that people. You can love but your partner refuses to grow. You can love but live in a context that destroys relationship. The economics, the distance, culture, family. You can love but both carry unresolved emotional wounds. So what is the bottom line? That love is not enough. A real relationship requires compatibility, responsibility, maturity, stability, shared direction, and willingness to do the work. Love by itself cannot supply these things. So what can love do? Love can motivate, can connect, can heal to a certain point, can inspire, can sustain effort, but love cannot replace compatibility or maturity. It is fuel, it's not the entire machine. So, what can love not do? Love cannot heal deep trauma by itself. Love cannot replace boundaries. Love cannot substitute discipline. Love cannot prevent infidelity. Love cannot fix incompatible personalities. Love cannot repair someone who refuses to work on themselves. Love cannot erase a structural reality, money, culture, family. So let's analyze this topic from the four-quadrant view by Ken Wilber that we use in the C4PC personality models. A relationship is impacted by all the four dimensions, all the four quadrants. So in the interior individual quadrant, which involves the in this case the psychological area, the relevance are values and wounds. In the exterior individual quadrant, we look at behaviors, to habits and discipline, in this case of a relationship. In the interior collective quadrant, we look at culture. So in this context would be the shared meanings that the couple must have. And in the exterior collective, we look at the system and the economy and the social structure in which a couple that is looking for love lives. So the myth that love can fix everything only acknowledges one quadrant, that is the internal emotion, but ignores the other three quadrants. That's why it fails. So, what does the C4PC model say about this myth? Different personality clusters relate to love differently. That's why this myth benefits some and destroys others. Let's break down the impact. From the C4PC model, right? So for the macro group internal rationals, which are comprised of the INTJ, the INTP, the ISTJ, and ISTP, how they experience love. They experience love through understanding. They need structure, compatibility, to have an aligned life direction. But why the myth harms them? Because they may ignore rational incompatibility, because love should be enough. So they stay too long and they end up burned out and emotionally shut down. For them, the risk is choosing poorly and losing themselves in the process. So a better reframing of this advice would be: love is one component. If your minds and lives don't align, it won't work. For the external rationals, that are the macro group that is comprised of the ENTJ, ESTJ, ESTP, and ENTP, how they experience love. They experience love through building, doing, planning. And why this myth confused them? Because they may believe that effort alone can fix what's fundamentally mismatched. So they have the risk of over-investing time, over-investing money and energy, trying to fix an unfixable bond. So a better reframing of this advice would be: love needs joint direction. If there is no growth together, it ends. In the case of the macro group internal emotionals, that is comprised of the personalities INFP, INFJ, ISFP, ENFP, they experience love idealistically. They see love as sacred transformation. But why this myth destroys them? Because they believe love can heal the other person. They blur boundaries, and hence they become emotional containers of their partners. They have the risk of fusion, of self-abandonment, and ending up in spiritual exhaustion. So a better reframing of this advice would be: love without boundaries consumes you. You need structure and emotional safety. For the macro group external emotionals, that is comprised of the personalities ENFJ, ESFJ, ISFJ, and ESFP, they experience love through warmth, through group connection, through family. So why the myth may partially works for them? Because they are relational and adaptive, so community supports them. But without reciprocity, they collapse. So they have the risk of excessive self-sacrifice, and caring becomes self-neglect. So a better reframing of this advice for them would be: love flourishes in healthy community. Give and receive. So let's make a summary of the fourth macro group of the C4PC model, and to see whether this myth work or not for them. For the internal rational, this advice is very harmful. For the external rational, sometimes it might work for them with certain conditions. For the internal emotional, is highly destructive. Avoid at all cost. For the external emotional, it can work, but with some structure. So let's see some real life examples. For example, about trauma. There's a woman that has a deep emotional wounds but refuse therapy. You love her, but it still fails. So you become the emotional caretaker while she sinks deeper. Then another example with core life goals. You want to travel, but she wants to have kids immediately. But love can fix everything. No. Core direction matters more than feelings. Another example would be to depict the economic reality. You relocate for love to another country. You lose your job, your network, your identity. Love holds for a while, but then externally reality crashes the bond. So what is the real danger of this myth? This myth confuses emotion with a structure. You can love deeply yet be in a destructive or dead relationship. Believing this myth makes you vulnerable to manipulation, to self-deception, to emotional dependency, to staying in toxic dynamics, to losing your identity. So, what belief replaces the myth? Well, love is important, but it requires compatibility and maturity and structure. What does that mean? Well, that means adding shared values, shared life direction, mutual responsibility, internal work, healthy habits, and clear boundaries. Love is not magic, it is work and alignment with the other person. What should you do in general terms? Well, here are some steps. First, define what kind of relationship you can sustain. Not every man is built for every kind of love. Then evaluate real compatibility, not just affection. And that's why it's key to know your personality type. And if you haven't started yet, you can start watching the self-knowledge playlist at the beginning of the channel. Then set boundaries. Love without boundaries becomes corrosion. And finally, accept reality. if it cannot work, then let it go. So saying love can fix everything is emotional infantilization. Love is beautiful, but it needs context, it needs a structure, and it needs alignment with the other person. Love without reality is smoke. So build from truth, from what is real. So thank you for listening, and if something of this video has been helpful to you, please leave a comment and share your thoughts. And please like and subscribe to support this humble channel. Stay strong, take care, and see you in the next one.